This is Go George Go. Let's go!
If you're sitting around being a dick beater, you might as well learn how to use a voltmeter.
Alright guys, today's video is going to be about voltmeters. What the hell's a voltmeter? Well, today you're going to find out. Now, when you buy yourself an electric unicycle, honestly, one of the most important things you can do is learn how to work on it yourself. Not only are there not that many reputable repair shops or people out there that are willing to help you, it's going to be super expensive if you have to outsource repairs to somebody else. And in general, these machines are pretty easy to work on. I really suggest learning just a couple of basics when it comes to working on your own electric unicycle maintenance. And I would say one of the most important things to learn is just how to use a voltmeter correctly. First, we'll talk about what kind of voltmeter you should buy, and then we'll just talk about some of the functions that you can use and some of the reasons that you would want to use a voltmeter. First, let's talk about different types of voltmeters. I've got two different examples here for you. One is the mega cheap, super duper cheap. It was like, I don't know, maybe $5, right? On AliExpress or something like that. I got this for nowhere. And then I've got a much more expensive, nicer version that I bought over at either Home Depot or Lowe's or whatever. This one was probably like $70. Now, for our purposes, it really doesn't matter which one of these two meters you buy. Honestly, we're not trying to take super scientific measurements here. We just want something that's close to accurate. One of these super cheapos is going to work just fine for you. Obviously, having a nicer one has more functionality. There's more things that this does. But realistically, there's only two things we're going to be doing with a voltmeter at the amateur level that, like us. All I really care about is voltage readings and continuity. Now, a voltage reading is literally just a number, right? All I care about is a number. Every battery comes with a different voltage. I'm sure you see unicycles are all marketed by their voltage number. Bigger voltage, more betterer. But essentially, there's just a safe operating range for batteries, a safe voltage level, right? And you just want to make sure it's not above or below that voltage level. So let's do a little example. I've got this S18 that I'm kind of working on, all ripped apart here, and I've got the battery exposed. So let's just do a voltage reading and see what the battery is. Now, the S18 is an 84 volt unicycle, so we want to make sure that our voltage is not above 84 volts, and we want to make sure it's not below any of the critical voltages, which would be on this wheel something like, I don't know, 65 volts or something like that. All right, I just did some quick math, and it's 60 volts would be the absolute low voltage that you'd want to see these batteries at. Anything below 54 volts is like critical voltage, big problems. And the way you would do that math, if you really are that interested, batteries are in sets of series. You want to just take your series number, which on an 84 volt wheel is 20S. So you take your 20 times 4.2, which is the maximum voltage of a healthy cell. That gives you your 84 volts. If you take your 20 series and you multiply it by 3 volts, which is like the negative cutoff on an S18, that would give you the 60 volts. And if you multiply it by 2.7 volts, which is like critical low, anything below 2.7 volts is a very unhealthy cell. We've got problems. That gives you the 54 volts. So if it's under 54 volts, big issues. It's also important to note that when we're dealing with batteries, we're dealing with DC voltage. We don't care about AC voltage. That's like the kind of electricity that's in the wall of your house. We don't care about that. We care about DC voltage, direct current. And to get started using our voltmeter, basically we have to look at the different settings that they are. So on these cheapo meters, generally you'll see something like this, DCV, DC voltage. We also have ACV, we don't care about ACV, we want DC voltage. That's what we actually care. This is basically what we're gonna use. And it'll have these different numbers here. All you care about is the number that is closest without going over. So like we're trying to read an 84 volt battery here. So we want the number that is closest to 84 volts without going over 84 volts, or I should say without 84 volts being higher than it. So like 20 is no good because we're over 20. 200 is what we're going to be setting it to because we're closest to 200 without being over the 200. And 250 is too high. These are milliamps. So we're going to be on the 200 setting. Now, unfortunately, the last time I used this super cheapo, I guess I left it on because it's dead as a doornail. I opened it up and it has a 9-volt battery inside. I don't have any 9-volt batteries, so I'm not gonna be able to actually show you this, but just know that that's how you set it, is the 200 setting here, and just you use it the exact same as the other one after that. Now, your slightly more expensive voltage meters will have basically like an auto sensor, so we don't really need all those numbers. What we're looking for is this voltage symbol with the line and the dash next to it. So the line represents your direct current, the dashes represent your alternating current, that's your DC and your AC voltages. So we're going to set this thing to that, and that's what we want. It should look something like this, where it's either very, very low voltage readings or no voltage at all. We're reading like just almost nothing here, yeah, so you should read very low or no voltage. And from there, the process is pretty straightforward. We've got our black prong and we've got our red prong, which correspond to our positive and neutral. And you'll see on your battery wire, you have a red wire and a black wire, which correspond to your positive and neutral. And all we're gonna do is we're gonna take our red prong to the red wire, we're gonna put our black prong in the black wire, and we get a 74.2 volt reading. Which is perfect. That's exactly what we expected to see, right? We wanted it in between 84 volts and in between 60 volts, and we're at 74.2 volts. Perfect. We were kind of left this thing in storage just above 50% battery. That's exactly what we were hoping to see. Very important to note, never to cross these two and have them touch when checking your voltages. If these two were to touch while also touching the wires, you could create a short circuit. So just be very careful not to be touching anything besides the exact spots that you want. Generally on a battery, the connectors are always going to be female like this, which makes it a lot easier to not cross things since you have to stick it down inside. But if you ever check a male connector, you just got to be really careful where there's two pins sticking out. This is what a male connector looks like. You can see with the two pins here, it's a little bit easier to accidentally maybe slip and touch them both, and then you could create a short circuit. So you just don't want to do that. Now you're asking, what other reasons would we want to check the voltage? Well, now that we've confirmed that it's within a safe range, we also want to make sure that before we ever plug any batteries back in, or especially back into another battery, we want to make sure that the voltages of both batteries match, or at least they're very close. All right, so I pulled out the other battery here. Let's just take a look at this battery. We've got red to red, black to black. If I can do this with one hand. There we go. And we settled on 74.2, exactly the same as our other battery. Let's just double check. 74.2 on this one as well. So it's safe to plug these two back in. If these batteries were more than, say, 0.2 of a volt away from each other, say this one was like 74.9 and this one was 74.0, you probably don't want to plug them back into each other. I've got another video on what to do if your batteries are further apart from each other than like just a couple tenths of a volt. You don't want to plug them into each other. Once you get to like a full volt apart, there's a chance that you could cause problems. Essentially what's going to happen is the big battery, the one with the higher volts, is going to try to charge the smaller battery with the smaller volts, but it's going to go really, really fast and create a lot of heat, which can cause problems. Just be careful, right? We don't want to be plugging things in if we don't know or if we're not confident that it's going to be safe. So just make sure that your batteries are pretty close, within, half a volt of each other. Now, the next thing that we're going to learn how to do on a voltmeter is called continuity. And all continuity is essentially trying to figure out if two wires touch or if the ends of a wire are connected. You would use the continuity to figure out if you have a short circuit somewhere in a wire or a circuit. You may be asked by somebody, if you're having problems with your unicycle, somebody may ask you to check the continuity of something, see if you have a short circuit somewhere. So let's just show you real quick how to do continuity using a voltmeter. So first, let's take a look what we're looking for. This little arrow symbol is the symbol for your continuity. So on our cheap voltmeter, we're going to switch it to this little arrow setting right here. As you can see, the little arrow setting is up here on our more expensive meter. So we're going to go ahead and switch it to that arrow setting right there. All right, so I think the easiest way to explain continuity is just to show it, right? So what I want to know, does this end of our plug touch this end of this wire? Is essentially what I'm trying to find out, right? So I'm going to put one of our prongs inside the plug on that side and touch this side of the wire here, and you can hear it beeping. That means we've got a continuous connection from this side of the plug to this side of the wire. And we can do the same thing on our negative side. You hear the beeping here, means we have a direct connection from this side all the way up to this side of the wire. Now, checking both terminals here, I'm touching both and we're getting no reading. However, if I've got it so that we're touching both pins and then I touch these ends of the wire together, we start beeping again. So that means that the end of these pins is making a full connection here. That would represent a short circuit where our red is touching our black. And that's really it, guys. That's the basics of using a voltmeter. Anything more than that, you're gonna need a more professional than me anyways. There's a lot of different functions that these voltmeters can do, from reading the ohms and resistances of wires and the amperage that's flowing. All that stuff is way above anything that any home repair like me or you would want to be doing. All we care about is voltages and maybe the continuity of a wire. Hopefully this video helps somebody out there who just has no idea what a voltmeter was before watching, and now you can have a little bit more confidence in how to use one or why you should be wanting to buy one. If you do have any questions, feel free to reach out to me or in the comments, or reach out in Telegram, right? There's a ton of really good Telegram groups out there with really, really smart people that can help you out diagnosing problems with your wheels, helping you do these kind of home repairs. And let me know if there's any more home repair type videos that you think I should be making to just kind of show things that we can do to maintain and fix our wheels ourselves. I really just thought that while I was ripping apart this S18 and I was checking the batteries myself, I thought it would be a good opportunity to just kind of share some knowledge with people out there who might just know nothing about what a voltmeter is or volts or anything, and just have no idea how to even begin working on their own wheel. Well, this is a good video to just start with. So just let me know, what other things can I make videos on to help you feel more confident in doing your own unicycle repairs and diagnosis? I think that's going to be it for this video, guys. I really appreciate you watching as always. Until next time, ride safe out there, and we'll fix something again in the future. Peace. You can see my wall of batteries here. Be prepared for some future videos coming up on a project I'm gonna be working on. I got a bunch of motors and tires and just crap everywhere. But yeah, be on the lookout for a cool project coming to the video soon, very soon.